Welcome everyone to Discourse, where today we will be reviewing Severed Roots by Nego Huzcotoq. Sometimes freedoms need to be curtailed for the greater good. So this story is, we follow Nick, he's the main character. We follow him through this, it's a fictional dystopian world where women rule. Yeah, I found that this story was super interesting. At the very beginning, I almost thought like super feminist, almost to like the extreme. Which I feel like I'm sort of a feminist. You know, I am a woman and I feel like I should have rights and things like that. But I just feel like a lot of the times there were things that were just so absurd and so extreme.
Because apparently women took over everything in power. The government, the military, the police.
Yeah, they basically were like, men are too violent.
They always start wars, so now we're war-free because women are in control.
Right.
There's no children born by accident or out of place or whatever.
You know, they have women who have jobs, right?
They have jobs in human manufacturing.
Which, honestly, that is how I felt when I was pregnant. Like, I was a manufacturing company.
Yeah.
Just saying. So, I mean, I felt like there was a lot of truths being rolled out in this book.
Yeah, and apparently it's a really hard job to get. You have to be truly qualified, you have to be in the right mental state, you have to be really fit.
Right, because they don't want the mother having an attachment to the fetus, because they want the person just to be able to give birth, give the baby to the children's centers, and move on.
Every year there was like a report that annually it's been, the world population has been in decline by 7% and rising.
Right. I mean, it's true. Like, you don't want to have, you know, wars, and you don't want your children abused, and you don't want, like, you want people to be taken care of and treated well and things like that. And I do feel like with women in charge, like, we have a lot more, like, sympathy and empathy. It would be different if it was led by a woman. Not so drastically, though. Like, we'll go into it. There are some things where you're like, whoa, that's intense.
It's different, but it doesn't work. Apparently there's freedom of speech and freedoms to do what you want, but everyone's scared to even talk or say anything. Women can't be seen talking to, they call them mankeys.
So men, they call them mankeys.
Mankeys.
And
they're not men anymore, they're mankeys. They're pretty much inferior. They were lowered in status.
Because they were what? Evolutionary failures.
Yeah, and they even have this Age of Oppression Memorial Day.
So when I was reading it and they were talking about
pink slippers.
Yeah, pink slippers for all the mankeys to wear on that Memorial Day. At first I thought, like, am I really reading this? Like, is this a joke? And then I was just like, no, this is like straight up, like, this is what they want these men to do.
Yeah, and there was guys lined up outside a store, like, waiting for new Jordans or something, but they were just getting a new pair of fresh pink slippers.
That's right. Gotta keep them fresh and fluffy.
Yeah. The line was too long, so I didn't get mine, today, so. But I am wearing a nice dress, so I could feel as confident as a woman, just like Nick in the story.
I know.
He got a job with the government, so he dressed up just like this.
I love that. But like, we laugh, right? Because that's silly. But, like, why is that?
I don't know. Just because he's taking things away from himself. Like, you look good because you want to look good. Like, feel confident yourself.
But, like, that could be said, like, with that whole saying when people say, oh, you throw like a girl. But, like, now, in this society, it's kind of like the reverse.
Totally reverse. That's funny because it brings up another point in the book where guys want to change their sex, not because they feel like women, but because they want to be respected like women.
Look at what we just said, right? They want to feel seen.
Yes.
Women feel like that in society now. So it's a lot of role reversals. Like, so women, how do they dress when they want to, get the best job in, like, a company? Like a man, right? Or whatever. Like, super put together. You know what I'm saying? They need to be aggressive and all these things because, like, guys are.
So it's kind of funny. But at the same time, you're like, wait.
There's so much truth in, like, almost everything.
Yeah. That's why this story really takes you in and makes you think.
Yeah, it's definitely introspective. like, it's funny. Like, there was a lot of laughter, at least on my part, but then it was kind of like, wow, that's super intense also, because it kind of really makes you think about the role reversals.
So Beatrice, which is Nick's apparently best friend, but he's doesn't really talk to her too deep. And
I know, who has a best friend, regardless of sex, right? Be male, female, and, like, doesn't know their birthday, doesn't
Yep.
want to hug them when they're sad.
So, well, going back to Beatrice, apparently she has this MS, like a disease called Motherhood Syndrome, and they give her pills to make that go away and wash it away from her mind.
This is when, at the very beginning, where Nick is starting to wonder, you know, what's going on with Beatrice, because she seems so sad, depressed, things like that. Like, and she's saying odd things, or at least things that women aren't supposed to be saying.
He's confused. Like, she's a woman. She should be happy and confident. Like, what's wrong with her?
Right, like, she's got everything going for her. She's a woman. Like, that's it. That's all you need in life, right? Can it be that she is ignorant? Doesn't she understand the social harm of motherhood?
This is just interesting, just their views on these things.
Well, it's that whole thing of the role reversal.
Yeah, but you don't stop having families and kids just because of that. Just let women in these days, women are in leadership roles everywhere, taking on CEO positions, starting their own companies.
Right.
Like, you don't have to go to these extremes, but you see it in this book.
I love how when Carla was talking to Nick about women who, back in the days when, you know, they would have families, it was almost like they were forced to have families, to be pregnant. And she was like, you know, they always had depression. They had
the postpartum depression.
Yeah, sleep disorders or something, like lack of sleep and exhaustion and all that. I'm like, yeah, that's called being a parent. Like, regardless of if you're a mother or a father, like, you're tired, you're depressed, you get angry, you're irritable. And so, but she makes it seem like that was, you know, it was forced upon us.
It seemed like they painted that picture and kind of twisted the history books.
But I think, well, no, I think that's the whole point of the book, right? Is to, like, show, you know, how extreme things were. But it's kind of true, though, today. So it's like, for me as a woman, I don't feel comfortable walking down the street or going somewhere alone just because I am a woman and I feel like I can be taken advantage of really quickly.
Well, I don't know. But these are things that the book makes you think about, right?
Yeah, it's so, like, I feel like there's so much social things going on in this book that there's so much to talk about.
It sounds like a cult, and it seems all nice and stuff, but there's these people called the Hardinians, which are a bunch of men, apparently, that they want to reverse everything and go back to the way things were, where men ruled. And then there's also an underground society, which wants to continue more on the raising a family and having kids. So Nick, as you follow him through the story, he kind of gets to experience all these different things just because naturally he's curious.
Like, we know how we always say, like, not everyone should have kids. It's true today, tomorrow. I would say this also applies to this dystopian world. And Carla says, well, enough is enough. You have to be certified to build bridges, don't you? You need a license before you can drive. You need a teaching degree to teach. But raising a child, the most difficult and important job in the world, for this, you shouldn't need any qualifications. Like, those are such amazing, like, good questions. I felt like those are super valid. I was like, yeah, you have to be certified to do all these other things. Why not about having kids? I feel like a lot of the stuff in this book is super extreme, but this is the one thing that I like almost 100% agree with.
Yep, but in this book, they don't care. They just don't want men having kids.
Yeah.
That's it.
In this book, they're like, nah, it's the men's fault. Let's just cut them loose, and the kids will be fine.
Just let them die off. We'll raise the kids and the centers, children's centers, raised by robots. The boys raised by robots, the women, the girls raised by actual people having fun, celebrating birthdays.
That's right.
The boys ignored.
Aww.
And they're raised to read a storybook called Mr. Make-Right, which apparently it's a father figure who whoops his children, or possessions as they're called, for not picking up their Legos. So yeah.
So pick up your Legos.
Yep.
boys.
I get really angry when they don't pick up their toys.
I know.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
But doesn't it make you think like that? And there are
Yeah.
men out there who do these kinds of things. That the smallest thing can set them off, and that's unfortunate.
But
it's true.
why punish the whole manky race?
Manky race. I know.
Yeah, it's just extreme, but it makes you think. It's just different.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and be sure to check out Severed Roots by Nego Huzcotoq.